Hello everyone, the Professor here. Today we are looking at the Spyderco Endura4 Lightweight in VG10, made in Seiki City, Japan. This is the full flat ground version of this knife. A standard tier knife. MSRP is around $120, but on Amazon you can usually find this for just under $70. There are serrated versions of the Endura4 available. There's also the Salt line that had this in H1 steel, which pretty much doesn't rust. Scales available in a multitude of colors. And there are upgraded steel sprint runs of this knife as well. It's a very popular model. And it's basically a larger Delica, so if you're familiar with the Delica line, this is basically just its big brother. Relative sizing, the Ontario Knife Company Rat Model 1, the CRKT Hootenanny, which blade length-wise pretty similar, ZT0452 carbon fiber, which dwarfs pretty much all my blades right now. About 3.5 to 3 5/8 inches of blade length, really about 3.5 of usable blade length. Lining it up, edge to edge, right at about 5 inches long, folded. 0.43 inches thick in the body, and at the clip, about 6.65 or 646 at the clip. Blade stock at the top is about 0.115 inches. This runs on metal washers, although this assembly is not recommended on this model, and it's accessed through this Spidey hole, which is about 1/2 inch in diameter. We'll measure it here. Spidey hole is just over 1/2 inch in diameter, and it is obviously not assisted. In fact, it has a pretty stiff back lock, even after I have lubricated and tried to loosen it here at the pivot. I just can't get this thing's action all that smooth, though it can be closed one-handed. And as a backlock, you don't have to ever put your fingers in the blade path. Although with a blade this large and a handle this thin, it's easy to accidentally get a fingertip into the blade's path. I fortunately have not cut myself on this one, although now that I've said that, I should probably stop flipping it. If you do have to put your fingers in the blade path, this serves as something of a stop, and it will catch on your finger like this. They stop right there, so you won't cut yourself, and then you can move and close it like that. The handle is made of molded fiberglass reinforced nylon, or FRN, with the Spyderco Endura4 written into it. And it has a Spyderco black clip, which I think kind of clashes with the gray of this handle. I kind of wish they'd done a silver clip or a gray clip, but I guess you could always sand this paint off if you wanted to for a more polished look. The clip, however, is available in all 4 orientations, and it has this hole in the clip for if you hold it in tip-up carry, you get your lanyard hole right through there. The clip is held by 3 T6 Torx bits, and the knife itself, another 4 Torx screws, T6s here on this side, and you can see that on this side they're more like rivets, so you only have to unscrew on the one side. And all you need is a T6, and this pivot screw here is a T8. In the pocket, the Endura4 shows a decent amount when set up for tip-up carry, right at 1 inch over the top of the clip. Tip down, slightly stealthier, but not a whole lot. Weight on the Endura4 is about 3.32 ounces, 94 grams. Rating the Endura4, utility, the VG10 steel, and this kind of Warncliffe-esque, for the first bit, knife shape. It cuts well. The full flat ground blade is pretty good. It doesn't have thumb studs to get stuff caught up when you're cutting. The tip is not too fragile. I'm going to give the utility on this a 5, good or above average. Awesomeness though, I gotta ding this thing, and mostly on action. This action is just so stiff even after being worked for quite a while. I've tried lubricating on here, I've tried loosening up this pivot screw, and I've tried flipping this dozens if not hundreds of times, and this action is just too stiff for my taste. This is not a really fidget-friendly knife. And then the grip on this and everything feels a little cheap, especially for around $70. I mean, while there's nothing inherently wrong with this part, it's just not all that awesome. This has a feeling of a cheaper knife, I think. So I can only give it an awesomeness of 3 or fair. As I mentioned, it's around $70, which puts it inside of the standard tier or cost tier 5. And as we said, it weighs 3.32 ounces, which puts it just inside the tier 4 on weight or average. Ergonomics wise, this is an okay knife. It might be a little too thin for you. The grippiness of the texture could, it's grippy but not too abrasive. But there's nothing amazing about this knife. It doesn't have too many hot spots, and it has good jimping. So all in all, I'd say it pretty much balances out. This is pretty average in terms of ergonomics, so I gave it a 4 there. Legality though, that blade of around 3.5 inches, because of this section here, which a cop might add into the blade length, I'm going to round to here on this and count this as, if anything, more than 3.5 rather than less than 3.5. So that gives us a legality of 3. It's not an automatic or an assisted knife, and I don't know, your customs agents in Canada might allow you to import this one, but it can be opened one-handed, so probably not. So legality score of 3. The value on this, 5 times 3 over 9 minus 5, which is 15 over 4, or a value of about 3.75. This is kind of a difficult knife for me to get excited about reviewing because honestly there's nothing really that excites me about this knife. A decently long blade in a decent steel for a decent price, but it's got an action that I really just don't care for. It's very stiff, and I've just discovered that I don't really care for the backlock. And this is not a knock on Spyderco, because some of the other mechanisms Spyderco uses, such as the bearing lock here on this Manix 2, I like a lot more. But compared to something fun like the Hootenanny, or something showy like Zvezda here, the ZTO 452, or something that does everything inexpensively really well like the Rat 1, I just can't get excited about this knife. I guess it's a good way to get a knife in a color that you like, because there's a lot of choices there. There are some sprint runs on this that have it in Packer wood with a better steel. There are some upgraded steel runs on this. But just this base version, nothing to really get excited about, but also nothing done too poorly. So in the end, the Endura4 Lightweight by Spyderco is not a professor recommended knife, and I'll probably end up selling mine to free up some capital, just because I don't see a role for this knife in my collection or my life. But it's also not a bad knife, and if you don't mind backlocks or you like Spyderco's and you haven't given this a chance yet, I would definitely recommend you give it a chance. I can't say I hate it, but I personally don't like it enough to keep. That's all for today. Class dismissed.